All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and get going. Thanks everybody for coming to the Solving Performance and Reporting for Solar Storage Systems. We're excited today to present Faisal Al-Azzouzi of Powerpedia and Nana Hori of Tensor Energy. Just a couple of quick housekeeping. During the presentation, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to put them in the Q&A. And we will answer the questions at the end of the presentation. So the presentation will run about 25 minutes, and then we'll have some time to answer questions and dig deeper into what we're talking about today. So my name is Kevin Drolet. I'm founder of Climate Hive, and I'm excited to introduce Faisal Al-Azzouzi, longtime friend of mine, and the principal and founder of Powerpedia. He is a passionate and seasoned climate tech veteran with over 2 decades of experience. He's an expert electrical systems designer, innovator, and a tenacious project developer and serial entrepreneur. And prior to launching Powerpedia, Faisal held various leadership roles with a number of renewable energy infrastructure companies and is a pioneer in the photovoltaic and energy storage industries, V2G, as well as medium and heavy duty EV charging space. So without further ado, I am going to hand it over to Faisal, who is going to be our MC for the day.
Thank you, Kevin, for the intro and the kind words. Thank you, everyone, for making the time and joining this exciting presentation. Happy to introduce Nana Hori, who is the founder at Tensor Energy. Tensor Energy is a leading renewable energy asset management and EMS platform out of Japan. Nana has worked in leadership positions across the renewable energy industry for more than 13 years. She is an entrepreneur with a background in strategic marketing and management consulting focused on sustainable energy. Without further ado, Nana, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the intro, Faisal, and thanks for coming, everyone. I'm so happy and excited to talk to you all. Let me share my screen now. Yeah, before I get started, let me ask you one thing. So it's a quick survey. What is your primary challenge with integrating battery storage into your existing solar project or new solar project? So here are a couple of options. Assessing the ROI for battery storage, managing operational complexity, data collection and analysis, or optimizing trade and dispatch, or not currently integrating battery storage yet, maybe in the future. Okay, yeah, it looks like managing operational complexity is the most popular one. And also, next is probably assessing the ROI of battery storage. Yeah, I feel that. Thank you so much. Okay, let me continue. So quickly, let me introduce myself. So as Faisal made an introduction, I've been in the industry for more than 13 years. Since Japan's nuclear crisis back in 2011, right after the big earthquake. Back then, Japan was heavily relying on nuclear. It was accounting for more than 30% of the total generation. So we're really short on energy, and we needed more capacity to generate more electricity. And solar was by far the best technology at that moment. So that's how I started. And I started working at the US-based energy firm called Photon Consulting, which was kind of like a hybrid company from Germany, the group who invented the feed-in tariff scheme, and the US-based energy consultant. And it merged together, and that's how I started. And really from the day one, my job was to do the research on the battery storage market. So this is a bunch of those lithium-ion battery manufacturers in China, then make the projection of the cost roadmap toward the next 10 years or so. So battery storage and integration with that battery with the solar PV has been my kind of like a dream, and the time is right finally, and I founded Tensor Energy to really like solve this industry challenge with technology and with our multicultural team. So I'm actually based in the southern island called Kyushu in Japan. Um, I'm not born and raised there. I was actually from the big city, Tokyo. Why I'm here? It's because it's the most saturated island, one of the most saturated with solar PV on the globe, actually. So it was worse than the California today. So what's happening there is as the solar penetration goes up, today, some of those independent power producers are losing more than 20% of their revenue because of the curtailment. It's almost 20%, and their typical size of those projects are much smaller than that of like Texas or Arizona, but they're losing almost $1 million every year, and that leads to the IRR decline. That's like about 160 basis points. So this is really critical issue for the investors as well. So battery comes into the picture, and the question is, can we add battery storage and save those projects? And the battery can actually optimize the revenue, and also it can play with multiple markets. So depending on where you are and what type of markets are available in the region, but what typically we've been playing with capacity market, which really guarantees the long-term capacity over 10 years or longer. And it's really to secure the capacity for the future. The second is the day ahead market, like we call it the spot market. And so that's the major market that we play. And our ahead market and real time, then balancing and ancillary service markets. So battery really unlocked the potential to play in multiple different markets. So that's a great point. And then second is it actually provides the grid stability and flexibility. That means the current infrastructure can't really sustain that much solar and wind. But once we put more storage in, we can actually free up some of those grid capacity, so we can actually install more solar, more wind. So that's another great point. And then third, it's really enhance your asset value by increasing your revenue and higher ROI. However, as you all probably have filled out this questionnaire, adding battery storage is pretty complex, and especially the operation is not easy. I could see a couple of points by talking to the people in the market. One is a complex simulations. So battery additions are quite detailed and complex cash flow simulation to really accurately assess the ROI. So essential for informed investment decision. And that's something that it's almost impossible to do this on Excel. The second point is the data overload. So to really make this simulation or making the real-time decision, you need to get all this data from all over the place. It's really hard to make actionable insights with those data analysis and processing. Third is the operational complexity. So, managing those assets and optimize large and dispersed asset it requires a lot of resource. So those are the challenge. And sorry, there goes another survey. So what's your biggest barrier to maximize the return on your solar and storage projects? Here are a couple of options. one is high operational cost. So is it the cost problem? Second, is this the volatility and risk in the market? Third is the complexity in managing and optimizing assets. It's really is that the operational issue? Fourth is difficulty in trading and dispatch. Fifth is just too much data to make it more tangible insight. Okay, so interesting. So this is really about complex complexity. It seemed to be the real issue. All right, thank you for answering those questions. So here, one solution we have built is the storage battery storage cash flow simulations. So we can actually provide you with really detailed, complex simulation within a minute with customized scenarios. That means you can actually adjust the assumption based on how you look at the market toward the future. And that really impacts on the cash flow simulation. So you have the full control over your assumption and to play with it until you're comfortable with that assumption and your stakeholder as well, like financial institution and investors. And we'll give you the full transparency. And so what are the right sizing for that project? So that, sometimes it's the biggest question we get from those customers are, what are the optimal size for the battery? Like 2 hours to store the generation from the solar, or do we need more longer duration, like 4 hours, maybe 6 hours, 8 hours? It really highly dependent on your capex, but that also is something we can provide for you to be able to figure this out. Lastly, it's the automated optimization. So it oftentimes those projects are held under SPV, and you have to have the investment baseline because the investors, financial institution, look at the financial model and see if that project is attractive for them or not. And so that's something we need to comply. So we also provide that. Then probably this is the most interesting part for you, as you mentioned, optimization and management is really complex. So our platform is specifically built for the hybrid system, meaning solar PV plus battery storage. It's really like tailored tool for these type of assets. So we can actually handle the complexity of solar power generation and charge and discharge control over the batteries. So we actually run the forecast for solar power generation as well as the market pricing. Then we run the optimization calculation to come up with the best strategy to when to charge and discharge the battery storage based on mostly on the day ahead market. Then we also provide the control over the battery. So it's AI driven dispatch control. So in many cases, the solar forecast, the day before forecast is not 100% accurate. It's almost impossible to provide 100% accuracy. So there's a delta, and on the real-time basis, we try to adjust the dispatch based on the plan we have submitted, based on the day before, day ahead market trade. So that also is it requires a precise control, but we're communicating with the local device to be able to control the battery based on the plan. And also we are providing the real-time insight. So we constantly communicate with the local device and provide you with what's going on and full visibility on that system. Let me quickly show you how it looks. This is showing the actual demo screen. This is based on the real asset that's operating in this island. It's showing the battery operation. We also are overlapping the day ahead price and intraday price, and there's something called imbalance. It's kind of like a penalty for you to compensate the gap between your scheduled or like trading plan versus actual dispatch. And then you can make a bid in the market through our platform. If you want to, you can actually adjust the bidding based on your assumption or your own strategy, if you have any. And then you can make a bid, and that is reflected automatically to your generation plan for the dispatch. And based on this, the cloud services automatically communicate with the storage battery on a real-time basis and really control them. So here is the actual site. There's a battery storage and then solar PV on the back. It's been operating for more than 10 years, but it actually started the battery operation several months ago. And here is the result. We've been successfully ramping up their revenue stream up to 47% for the past 4 months. And we're optimizing 90 megawatt hour of energy through the trade. And the daily operation can be done within 30 minutes, almost like 10 clicks, definitely less than 30 minutes. It could be done within 15 minutes if you don't do the adjustment and all those things to tweak the trade. So how this works, we built this cloud platform to really like for speed and scale. This is really we can collect all those data from everywhere at really high speed, and also we can process it in the moment. Then we take those data and then build the specific AI model for each project, and also build the optimization model for each project. So you have the tailor-made custom AI model for each power plant. Then lastly, we automate and augment those critical tasks around those power plant operation. There are, several players in the market. What's our differentiation point and why we could be potentially be a one and only solution? One is we really value the financial transparency because really of our background. We have been from the energy finance sector, so we know how investors are thinking, and it's really important to have the transparency, and really that helps us build the trust and confidence from the investor side. That really help us scale our business as a developer and IPP. So that's one. Second is it's kind of like a repetitive thing, but we can actually provide tailor-made project-specific AI for each project. That really helps the optimization and really helps the revenue optimization. Then lastly, it's the end-to-end automation. So we're really trying to automate all those operational tasks and free up your time, and for you to be able to focus on the critical decision making that only humans can do. So how you potentially can start with us. So one is really, we have been really actively doing that in Japanese market, but we our team member has all the expertise from Europe, US, and all the other markets. So we're trying to really unlock the market specific value with you. Secondly, we have the proven technology, and let's build on top of it. And please contact us to really talk to our energy experts and energy geeks who really loves to talk about all this part of the global market and solar storage. So thank you for listening, and really really excited to light up the world with clean energy with you all together.
Thank you so much, Nana.
Thank you.
Thank you for going through this intro and slides. We have a few questions in the Q&A. Please send over your questions that you might have. First one about the link to the recording. We will be sending an email out post-presentation to share the recording with you all. And we had a question about the entering the US market given the current geopolitical environment. Nana, yes, so Tensor is already here, and you have no fear.
Right. We actually have discussed this topic with multiple potential users and customers, and their sentiment has been actually surprisingly not negative, rather positive actually. What they have been telling us is that this whole movement, or like going for renewable or going with green energy, is really not driven by the government, but driven by the big tech companies, or forward-thinking people who really try to combat with the climate change. So that won't stop us from moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I mean, both the ESG targets, company initiatives, and also economics. I mean, they stand on their own most of the time, and they're less and less reliant on incentives and government support. So, yes, and welcome to the USA market, Nana. And another question about your target client profile. What is your ideal customer? Where do you think your platform can provide the most value within the American energy market?
So our platform is designed for any size of projects, but we're typically good at speed and scale, meaning like we can actually handle hundreds of assets at once. So that's something we can kind of like compete with other companies. So small
Excellent.
and fleet of project, that would be our great.
That are participating in the energy markets, I assume. Perfect. There was also another question about the asset modeling with regards to degradation, asset state of health benchmarking. Is that something you also track as far as the maybe the lithium ion performance, state of health, maybe predicting or catching any particular failures in the battery or degradation that's out of the expected?
Right, that's in the making. So it's really just the storage battery large scale installation has just begun. So we're really collecting those data based on the real operation. And also we work with other companies who specifically focused on the electrochemical research and how they can actually identify the degradation. So yeah, that's something we're working with others, and also we're collecting data and to be able to provide that insight for the future.
Good to know. There's also other, let me see, a lot of good questions coming in here in the Q&A from another friend here, Reed, asking about best controller that you're using to communicate with the assets on site. And you also integrate with EV chargers. So it's your. My understanding is your platform is suited for both behind the meter and front of the meter. Your target maybe is in front of the meter, but in case of behind the meter, do you also integrate with EV chargers or other types of smart grid or smart devices, grid edge devices, and so on?
Right. We're actually starting behind the meter implementation in January next year. So that's like factory. They probably have the EV charger, but not specific to EV charger, but we also are providing the demand forecast in general. So if you know the usage pattern, that's not super difficult for us to predict the EV charger demand. And sorry, that was another question was there, right?
Yeah, so there
Oh,
was the controller that you use on site.
mm-mm.
Is there particular hardware you prefer, or can it live in an existing controller? You can go in, maybe add your software on there, or do you have a specific controller that you like to use?
Right. So we have a specific controller that works now today without any further development or anything. But typically only 3 months we can actually develop the connection with any site controller.
Okay. I guess we can go over please send over your maybe detailed questions as far as specs. We can happy to provide more color on how to integrate Tensor within your existing assets, or if you're developing a new one, what would be maybe a preferred method of deploying Tensor. There's also, again, from Reed, a question about your offering. Can you please clarify? I mean, it's something you mentioned as far as like the simulations and so on. Is it purely a cloud platform, licensing type of offer? Do you do things like, do you provide also engineering, O&M ongoing asset management services, battery procurement? Yeah, can you please share more about how Tensor is looking to support the US
All
market?
right. Yeah, what we could do in-house is the software engineering and energy market prediction. So anything that's physical or hardware installation or hardware configuration, that's something we need to rely on the EPCs.
Okay, but I mean, I assume given your Japanese background and experience, you can potentially also support with
Yeah.
battery procurement and
Mm-hmm.
given the battery assets that you've been tracking, you might have recommendations on what is the best suited chemistry for a particular use case and particular
Mm-hmm.
project. Good. There was also protocols. You're familiar with I mean, are you OCPP, OpenADR compliant and such? And you provide
Sorry, which question?
From Christopher. There's OCPP, OpenADR, I assume, is alluding to the protocols that you are compliant with and can provide.
So is that a communication protocol with
Yes,
the
yeah, this is the
battery storage?
EV
Okay.
OCPP.
I see.
OpenADR is demand
Okay.
response protocols. Is that something you also
Right.
integrated with here in the US?
So not yet. We're tapping into the demand response. We've been focusing on the front of the meter implementation for the moment. So we're communicating with the storage on the Modbus protocol. That's between storage and EMS.
Again, from Christopher, also V2G, any V2G capability. Well, similar. I mean, once you're integrating with EVs behind the meter, I assume you can. Have you done it already in Japan? V2G using the vehicles as battery assets. They're on wheels this time, but they can also participate.
Not yet.
I assume. Not yet.
Not yet. But
okay.
We actually have one of our customers are one of the largest auto manufacturer. So they have the ambition, and we are working with them to get copied to the EV world
Yeah.
as in kind of like a mid to long term goal.
I mean, yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's also still very new to the US market, V2G. It's still, I mean, there's still the market mechanisms are not
Hmm.
fully in place to truly take advantage of V2G, and OEMs also need to develop.
Yeah, it's kind of like a step-by-step process,
Yes,
and yeah, but it's definitely within the
possible.
scope. Mm.
Perfect. Yeah, from Elu, the question about the US, to follow up on the US market and how you selling here your cloud and AI solutions? Is it through traditional PV and ESS distribution or direct to customers? Or do you have that figured out yet?
Actually, not yet. In Japan, we are mostly directly working with the customers, but at the same time, it involves new installation for the device and building a connection with the storage batteries. We often work with EPCs, and sometimes EPCs are working as our partner who introduce the customers or
Right.
introduce us to the customers as part of the whole package.
Yeah, I assume here, I mean, since the financial analysis, ROI, assets, so assumptions as far as the CapEx, OpEx all affect the economics of the project, then maybe
Mhm.
your ideal customer is the IPP, the asset owner that
Mhm.
is developing the project, and
Right.
then could come, they could come to you through the APC, or
Mhm.
that's maybe tasked to figure out the software solution. But
Right.
yeah, from my experience, companies like Tensor would work directly with the asset developer, project developer, to in the early stage to right size the battery, select the chemistry,
Mhm.
take in all the assumptions on cost and operating costs, and looking at the particular market assumptions and forward-looking curves and on
Mhm.
forecasting and such. So typically, you want to be as early in the process as possible. And in case, we're happy to talk to EPCs as well if they're trying to make a project happen. In case
Mhm.
the existing suppliers cannot deliver, or if the economics change, then maybe we can help them
Mhm.
make the solar and storage projects work. Um, See, feel free to send more questions. I think we addressed all on the list here. Um, if I may, I mean, I have a question regarding your uh, the data-driven decisions. Can you tell us a little bit more about
Mhm.
how Tensor can help customers um, make decisions on the battery sizing and assess project viability?
Right. So we ask the customers to input those project information on our platform, and then they can actually run different simulations based on different scenarios. So we can actually accommodate multiple different project portfolio under our platform. Then the customer also can create their own customized scenario assumptions. So, for instance, what are the inflation rate over 10, 20 years? Or what are the electricity price trend over 10 years, like kind of like a long-term price forward curve. And then we take those long-term forecasts and then we combine that with the weather forecast or historical weather pattern. And then we apply that seasonality to create um, sometimes 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes increment. So kind of like artificially create um, the future um, market price and future generation in those granularity based on the market needs. So in Japan, the market is normally by 30 minutes. In Texas, it's 15 minutes. In UK, Germany, it's like 5 minutes. So depending on the market, we can actually artificially generate the future.
Excellent. I mean, I also have a question about the forecasting. If you can tease out a little bit more how intelligent your AI is. Curious about nodal pricing. How do you have a view on? I mean, maybe you can maybe you have a good understanding of historical pricing, nodal pricing, Chi-Square, Cut, and others. But also, do you have a view based on the expected renewable energy growth, load growth, EV adoption, and all that, and how that affects the pricing, the energy pricing, and how that affects the markets and a particular node as you assess a project for 10, 20 years, whatever the expected life is. And to add to that is also, okay, what is your view on the second life for batteries and value, terminal value, things of that nature? Is that a comprehensive kind of project assessment that takes into account all these variables?
So we can put the assumption on the amount of solar penetration on that node, or amount of storage battery comes into that area or nodes. So those are the things that we can put in. But in the end, really nobody knows what the future is going to look like. And the important thing is that you reach to the agreement with the investors or financial institution on that scenario. What do you believe, or what do you think is the most probable future, and prepare for like a couple of different scenario, and then you kind of like know the maximum and minimum, and then in those range, the product is probably going to highly likely sit between that range. So we're trying to articulate that range.
Excellent, which brings me to another question as far as reporting, financial reporting, and how do you help IPPs attract more investment and build confidence with all stakeholders as you are capturing and forecasting prices and costs and all that. How do you help the industry and all stakeholders get more confidence?
Right. So the thing is that it always you collect all those bills and invoices. By the time you can actually have the comprehensive financial report, it takes a month or 2 months delay, and that actually all messes up the data. So we're trying to provide the like real-time estimate based on the real-time data we get from the site. We know how much discharge going on, and we know what price we made the trade. So at least we can get to the rough estimate before we actually get the concrete invoice and bills and those backing data and documents. The investor needs a more like real-time reporting so that they know what's going to happen.
Right. So that's maybe once the investor and the project, once you're on board and it's boarded already, but in case of making a new project happen, kind of like IE services, how do you basically make the case for a particular project in a particular node, given your view on the future and the particular project assets and components? One other question here about end-of-life analysis for critical components. Is that something you also track, the performance of critical components, part of your asset management capabilities? Obviously, the health of the lithium battery, the solar, that's something you can easily capture. Degradation and maybe failures that can be captured and all that. But I'm just curious, anything else to mention here? I mean, given your extensive experience in Japan, anything you can help developers understand or predict failures within, whether it's power electronics or batteries or solar?
Yeah, so this is something we're working with our partners to really like make the comprehensive model here. We're good at building the like fast processing and fast model for like AI development. but the we need a massive amount of data to really like make it work. So that's something we're trying to get from the like longer life O&M providers and monitoring companies.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, data will be key to train your AI and improve your
Right.
models. Um, okay, let me see if there are any more questions. Feel free to send them. We are coming towards the end of the session, but I'm curious to see your view of the future, Nana. What are the big challenges for the solar and storage industry, and how do you see Tensor Energy preparing to address those challenges, and how are you positioning yourself and your product and product roadmap to address anticipated challenges? I mean, you are living in an island where, I mean, where you see the future of high penetration renewables, intermittency, reliability, coupling, solar storage, and maybe electric vehicles, more disruption, more intermittency, and maybe political change
Yeah.
as well. So
So,
how do you see the future?
well, biggest challenge for the power grid is really like those hard asset like infrastructure is really hard to replace, and we really kind of like need to take it as a given um, structure and like being able to adjust around that, especially toward the next 10 years or so. We won't be able to replace the power grid or like enhance that massively. So we really need the software technology and also battery storage to be able to maximize the efficiency for the grid usage. So that's definitely the one challenge, and that's what we're trying to tackle from the software angle. Um,
Is that part
another
of like
is
maybe adding microgridding capabilities to Tensor,
right,
as
right.
the failures within the grid or the project, or the need in case you need to maybe evolve the asset into something different over time? That's something that
Hmm.
Tensor is anticipating.
Right, right. And another thing is that um, sometimes there are not enough space for the storage, solar project to install storage battery. We really like trying to virtually synchronize the behavior of solar and battery that's not physically connected. Well, it's physically connected through the grid, but physically not next to each other.
Let's see. All right, another question from Reed here about battery OEMs have you integrated with. Can you tell us a little bit more about the partners you worked with on the battery side, microgrid controllers, and how long does it take to integrate with a new battery and new OEM? Maybe even in the EV side, and anything maybe to stay away from as far as
Okay.
um,
So for
chemistries
the
or.
battery OEM, we've worked with Tesla, Megapack. That's what we have on site, and some like major Chinese batteries we can connect with. And for the microgrid controller, that's more like kind of like a localized component, I believe. So depending on which market, we need to build the connection.
Mhm. And how long does it take me, maybe an NRE or a process or integration process? How long do you anticipate integrating with a new customer? I mean, last time we chatted, I think ideally at least 6 months before a project COD, you want to
Hmm.
be involved to make sure that you
Right,
avoid any integration issues, because that is in commissioning one of the main risk items in
right.
commissioning a storage project is making sure that all the pieces talk together to each other
Hmm.
smoothly and
Hmm.
seamlessly. So 6 months is safe cushion.
Yes.
Okay,
And typically you need to wait for the interconnection once
right.
you launch that project. So yeah, earlier the better, but if we have 6 months or so, then we should be able to be prepared for that interconnection.
Excellent. You have experience speaking of interconnection, talking to utilities nicely to help us integrate projects faster in case they have specific requirements from the PCS or the energy storage project to provide specific services and ancillary services that the utility needs at that particular interconnection point.
Yeah, we normally work with the local electrician who's really close to the utilities. Used to work for utilities and know the people in the office, that sort of thing.
Okay, let me see if there's any more questions. But other than that, I think thank you so much, Nana-san. Arigato. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And
ありがとうございます。
yeah, let me see if Kevin, maybe any words to wrap it up. I don't see any more questions coming in the Q&A.
No, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Faisal, and thank you, Nana. And we will get a recording of this presentation out to those that came. And just want to encourage you all to please contact Nana at hellotensorenergy.jp and book a meeting with her. Her calendar link is there. You can pop in, get on her schedule, and let Tensor Energy help you in your next project. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, guys.